Today, I am going to try to make a pattern from this photograph. And if you're thinking to yourself, this looks kind of familiar, well, then you've probably been following this channel for a really, really long time because the last time I tried to do something with this pattern was before I was actually making videos to teach people how to do stuff. So this was all done with photographs. So this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a little bit better for people who are interested in learning how to do this. So yeah, let's roll that intro. Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and this is the photo that we are working from. And so how this kind of came about was I have a folder full of like photos that are meant to be inspiration to be able to use in future projects. And this was in that folder. And I was like, oh, this one's pretty awesome, but this photograph looks like something that I did. And that really, really confused me. Um, and so I kind of went looking for it. So I went looking through my website to see if there was any posts about it or like where was it used. And hang on, fit canvas to layers. There we go. Um, and I had to scroll back a really, really long ways before I found it. And I was like, oh, so this was early on when I was getting asked an awful lot, what's the pattern number? And I was like, I should teach why I don't know any pattern numbers. And so this was kind of like the really early make from photos kind of projects. And yeah, I kind of I kind of want to bring this sort of thing back. I want you guys to be able to see the whole thing. So yeah. All right. I think that's about a good size. I really don't remember much about the pattern itself. So this is a little bit like working from fresh because I mean seriously, this is many years old. So we're going to take this layer here. We're going to take the tool and we're going to make it go to a new layer. And the main reason for that is if later on we need to move it, we can just scoot it around. It doesn't matter. It just makes some of the hassles just a little bit easier. Okay. I don't know if you guys have been around for my videos or if this is your first. One of the things I always talk about is starting from where whatever's easiest. And in this case, what is easiest is this white string that runs through the whole thing. By the way, how did I know how many strings there were? This one is kind of easy because it is very blatant that there are 6 colors of the rainbow, right? Depending on where you want to start, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then goes back to the red, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, there's the white. So there is 7 strings on one side, and that makes it 14 strings coming down because it is, in fact, symmetrical on both left and right. So that's how I knew. That was the easy one. Like, not, you don't always get to do this because sometimes they'll double up a color or do something funny to the pattern that makes it hard to actually know what it is. This one was pretty straightforward. I'm going to use gray instead of the white because if we needed to change a large area or do any kind of repeative stuff, we don't want it to get confused with the background. So that's kind of a constant around here as well. So I am seriously just going to mimic this thing exactly as it is because I am imagining myself doing this as a beginner. I'm thinking that maybe you guys have never tried to work from a pattern before. How would you go about it? So I'm going to try to do this sort of as if I am that beginner as well, because I know that like I've done this so many times that I kind of take shortcuts maybe at times, or that maybe I make it out to be just a little bit easier than it really is. So I'm really going to try to put myself in a beginner's shoes. Mind you, this isn't exactly a beginner's pattern. There's a lot of zigzags and stuff going on, and it's a little bit complicated. So it's more of an intermediate is what I would say. So the white does this little tight grouping, and then comes out to a diamond with a hole in the middle of it, and then goes in for that little tight thing, and it just kind of repeats. So obviously, if we're going to do the easiest part first, it would be that. It would be to just go through and put this in as it is. So it's a little bit tedious. I get that. Like honestly, I can see why there's not a lot of people who really want to break down and work out patterns. They just want to go to a website and find it as opposed to doing all this. For me, though, honestly, the ability to not have to go find somebody else's pattern is very rewarding. I have for many, many years now had no need for the other websites. It doesn't, oops. I can just pretty much look at somebody's pattern and figure it out, which is great. When, let's say, there's an element of a pattern that you really like, but you want to change it. Like that ability to change up a whole pattern and make it your own. That comes from being able to figure out how it was done in the first place. In fact, I'm kind of actually thinking about the possibility of doing something different with this one. For the purpose of this pattern, I want to kind of keep it to the original, which is just it just continues on. It doesn't change or it doesn't do anything. But I think maybe tomorrow's video might be me changing the pattern altogether. Again, just because we can, there's a potential for doing something different, and I like that idea. I've already made obviously this bracelet before, so rather than making it exactly the same way again, I'll do my own little change, my own little twist on things. So, yeah, whoops. So yeah, this part here just kind of continues all the way down. Now, mind you, I don't think we're going to go and do all of this here today. I think I'm just going to give you guys enough to show you how to do it, because the whole pattern just repeats. So we'll at least go through like the rainbow once, and then I'll probably just finish it up for the pattern for the web page later on. So at least that's what's in my head at the moment. I don't know. That could change. Depends on kind of how this works itself along. Oops. Got the outer part of the square there. So it kind of ends on a funny note. That's all right. If I were making this exactly, I would probably leave off this whole bottom row here. So I wonder if we change that to this. I don't know why that aspect ratio thing always wants to change. I kind of would like to make, I'm going to show you actually how we're going to make this so it ends the way I want it to. So if I change that to a 45 and the aspect ratio at 0, I get a square that I can use, and I've just made the color white. And if I hold the shift key, I can get a nice straight line. That'll bring me right to there. And hold the shift key again, another straight line. Zap these. Now the thing ends perfectly. I can even kind of chop off the end of that. There we go. So now it ends how I like it. I don't know. That was really weird. The heck? Did you guys see that? All my lights just turned off for a second. That really freaked me out. Okay. So we need colors. There's a nice orange right there. So there's an orange in the middle of this. Not sure where that comes in at, but we're gonna fill in what we can see, and then we will figure out where the strings actually go from. So the yellow comes around, we see there's 3 nuts this way, and then back around this, and then we don't see it again until it's down here. Right. Then the next color we have is a green, which I don't have a green picked out, so let's find a nice, like ours is a really super dark green, but this is cool. So it's got 4 nuts coming in almost straight. 3, 4. Comes out and then back in, and it's down here. And at some point here, it should become really super clear as to how one string makes its way to whichever, whatever other point that it goes to. Let's do a few more just to kind of cement this in. We need a blue. So that comes all the way out and back like this. And then this comes all the way down there. And then back out a little bit, back in, and then it shows up down there. So cool. I don't even know if this is the way that I actually taught it the last time, because there's more than one way to kind of go about doing these things. I should really take a look and see how I did it last time. Okay, so this is the purple. And at this point, the purple is doing the same thing the blue did. It's got that same little zigzag part. Comes down, comes out, comes in, and is back down here. And the purple is actually what's inside of the blue one. So that means this will be the reds inside of this. So those are both kind of the same. All right. So these are both red. So this kind of feels like it's kind of moving along kind of quickly, but we haven't done the hard part of the work to this yet. So that's probably why it's not, kind of, that's why it's going fast. We haven't done the hard part. All right. So yeah, we could start from so many places. Let's start with this orange. Obviously, this orange had to come through here. The whites doesn't allow for any other place for it to come through. It if we really wanted to be picky, we can see that the orange is up above the yellow there. So we could know that that's exactly how this went. But it sort of also makes sense that the yellow sort of came in and did its thing. So let's take a look at the yellow's path. It had to come in here and then come down in order to be for all these 3 knots. And then it comes in this way, right? So let's do that part on both sides. And then if we look at it, it couldn't have come over here to the left on this one, right? Can you see where I'm at with the little pointer? It couldn't have come over to the left here because that green is obviously coming straight through. So it came to this white, which is doing a zigzag, right? It went to the left and to the right again. And that means it will come back out going to the left here. This green is obviously, it's coming down. I'll actually show you this. The green is coming down and it changes direction to come this way, right? So it kind of does the little, it goes to the right and then to the left. That gives our yellow the chance to come inwards and come to there. Right? So that's kind of the process of trying to figure out where something is going and how it does its thing. We can go back now and take a look at this orange. We know that this yellow traveled straight, and we know that the green had traveled straight. So we know that that orange comes through this way. And we can now see that the blue is going to come down and it's going to change directions. This is the only way it could go, right? Because you need that string to be available for these knots. So that means this orange just changed its direction right there and came underneath the green. Once it came from there, it hit this white and comes out and changes its direction again. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves with that. Let's fill in some of these other ones. We have this green here. Now, this green is doing the same thing that the yellow had done earlier, right? It was coming straight down. It couldn't change here. It's going to change because it came off of the white, then off of the blue, and then come down here to the center. Right? So a lot of this, you're going to find that once you have solved for one, you really have solved for most of it. So there's that. Mind you, that doesn't tell us how does the red get to down here, right? We need to work out more before we can actually know that. So let's go with the next one. These blues, obviously, it's kind of doing the same thing that the green had done. It just has a little bit more to start with. Comes down, goes to here. It's going to go down to the white. It's going to come off of that and then end up down here in the center of this. Awesome. The next one is the purple. So now, to figure out where that purple came from, it could have come this way, right? It, by rights, it totally could have traveled from this string here. But let's kind of try to imagine the easier path or whatever to it. So it looks to me like this kind of makes more sense. Again, that's sort of interchangeable. It doesn't matter as long as you get the color to where it's supposed to be without causing yourself too much stress. If it works, it works, right? So now I'm going to bring these down. So again, this is a little bit more intermediate. And as far as like bracelet design work goes, this might actually be a bit harder to do. But with a little bit of help, a little bit of practice, I think you guys can do this. I think anybody can do this. It just is about the practice. It's about trying things. So there you go. So now that we have all the colors in, right, we can bring this orange comes in, this one bounces, comes out, this one comes out this way. This yellow is going to come out. It's the reason we know that it changes is because it would have to. It simply has to change. When this changes direction, that other string will have to change its direction as well. Right? That's just a thing. So you can see now the path for the red is the one that's left. Right? So it kind of makes it easier. Like I've always say, do the easy part first, and the difficult part will sort of just sort itself out. It just becomes super obvious. So there it is. So the red comes through, and whoops. Just trying to find the little thing to move this. You can see the red was here and the purple was there. But if, let's say, for whatever reason, when the bracelet was made or the photograph doesn't quite show that part, we would have still been able to figure this out. So the red kind of comes straight down because it's needed down here, and it's doing the same thing that the purple had done before it, and all the other colors are going to do after it. And so the red comes in, and it basically does the same thing the other ones were doing. And see, even though I don't have the other stuff in here yet, I still know that it's going to follow the same path that everything was doing before. And now this orange, just follow it along, right? And it will come in and be right where you needed it to be, inside of this part right here. And that's a nice part about like patterns that are already sort of worked out for you. You don't even have to guess like what's supposed to happen. You know, you've already seen it. You already know what it does. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Right. And then from the yellow, you know that it bounces off that orange there, comes down to the purple, bounces back as the purple went its way, and then ends up out here. And then it's going to do the same exact shape. If we zoom out, you can see the sort of shape that each one is making. It will keep doing the same thing again and again. And then that'll go there. And then the green, you can see it came down to the red, comes out, bounces off of the white, comes down to the yellow, bounces back to the red here, back out, and that's where it does this little thing, and then it is the next color to go through like that. All right. So there it is. That's our whole pattern. It's just going to repeat itself. It's going to keep doing the same exact thing all the way through this. Like it's really, it's sort of easy at this point. I mean, if you guys have questions, let me know. I will do my best to try to answer and help you guys to learn how to do this stuff yourselves, because honestly, there is something very rewarding about being able to sort out your own patterns. And yeah, I want, whoops, I want you guys to be able to do this stuff for yourselves as well. So thank you very much for watching. Before I go, I want to thank my Patreon supporters who make these videos possible. I couldn't do it without them. If you want to see the whole pattern completed, go over, check out my website, akaawol.com. It'll be over there, as well as the original picture. Maybe you want to try to work the pattern out from the picture as well. Like that could be a challenge for you. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. And as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.